Impala Platinum, reporting a 66% jump in headline earnings today. At the same time, this is a company that we know has been embroiled in a strike with its workers, sacking 17,000 of them. And at the same time, we've got a CEO who's departing. You're a fund manager. Would you touch them?
Well, any asset does have a price. It's probably not here yet. But if you look at the earnings that came out today, I mean, you know, the second half or the first half earnings that came out today was much better than the previous first half, but it was from a very low base. So they're actually doing, against the previous 6 months, they're actually doing much worse than what they've been doing. And we know that labour stoppages, utilities, labour cost, etc., all those were putting pressure on them. So I think it's about a drop of from 7 Rand something on earnings from the previous 6 months to about 5 Rand 60 or 5 Rand 73 at the moment. So it is a bit of a drop off. And then of course, like you just mentioned, a huge labour dispute at the moment. It's costing them lots of money. It's costing them 3,000 ounces, and it's probably going to be there to not for Impala not making their production targets. That specific mine is 50%, more than 50% of their turnover. It's one of the biggest in the world, and certainly does affect them.
Absolutely. Now, the market punished them today, 4% down on the day. Byron, if I can turn to you, 4% down on the day. Is the risk around this company been fully priced into the market?
I don't think so. I think the long-term trends aren't looking good. We used to hold the stock up until about July last year. After a long analysis, we looked at the situation. You know, the fundamentals behind platinum are still there, and in their results, they even mentioned that demand for catalytic converters was up 5%. The reason the platinum price has been down was mostly on investor sentiments in terms of the ETFs and so on. So we were holding the stock up until about August last year, and then we decided that it looks like it's going the same route as what the gold miners have been doing over the last few decades, where the platinum price is going to carry on increasing, and that's going to be strong, but the actual miners aren't going to make money. And that's a whole lot of factors. You know, there's the labour strikes, and then there's the electricity tariffs, and it's getting deeper and deeper, more dangerous and more difficult to mine. The fact that South Africa produces 80% of all platinum, global platinum, means that the platinum price would probably pick up as it gets harder to mine in South Africa, which will underpin the miners. But I think that the headwinds are just too strong at the moment.
Yeah, Gerbrand, where is the silver lining here? Because we also know this is a company that is operating in Zimbabwe, and we know the environment there hasn't yet quite stabilized to the extent that you could say the problems that we're talking about here, your high labor costs, your high cost base, and also your high power costs would start to be mitigated perhaps by improved a ramp up in production in Zimbabwe.
Yeah, look, you're seeing that they are expanding there. I think the second phase now in Zimbabwe, they actually made nice profits for the 6 months in that specific country. But there's a lot of headwinds there as well. There's still negotiations going on with their plans for Zimbabwe. So it's a very, very tough industry to be in. There's lots of political risk on that Zimbabwe operations. The silver lining is probably that you're not going to get funding for some of these smaller companies.
Right.
And you're probably going to have, like Byron just mentioned, you're going to have a platinum price supporting these guys going forward. But crucially is they're going to have to get production right, and they're going to have to get something on the safety stoppages, etc., sorted out over the next 6 to 12 months.
Is there any chance that one of the big global miners will wake up one day and say, tell you what, we need to add a platinum component here? Lonmin was going to come into mind, but Impala, we do know, are a standalone company in terms of the big players. Implats is under the wing of Anglo-American. Could someone come in and take them out?
Yeah, certainly. I think at the right price, and if things are getting better. Well, it all depends on what's happening in the platinum rand price, and then what's happening in production. And these safety stoppages are hurting these companies. You're seeing that right across the board with Lonmin, with Implats, etc. So it is something that needs to be sorted out. But certainly, there was a lot of rumours over the last year or two that I think Billiton was a suitable parent for a company like Impala. We know that I think Xstrata looked at Lonmin at one stage. So there is a lot of interest in that space. It's certainly, demand is growing for the platinum and for palladium worldwide. But yeah, at the moment there's a lot of problems in that specific industry.
Absolutely. So without all that negativity, for maybe a daring acquirer, let's say, wouldn't this be the perfect time to come in and take them up?
Well, you talk about a company like Billiton.
Yeah.
Maurice Kloppers is adamant that they're going to stick to tier 1, low cost, low risk assets. And I don't think a lot of the mines that fall under the Impala umbrella fit that bill. So a lot of the miners at the moment are staying away from risk. It's more the smaller guys like the Exaros who need to go up into Africa and go into the Congo and so on to find those opportunities.
Yeah.
But I think at this stage, the bigger guys are going to stay away from the risk and focus more on the metals that are easier to mine.
But Byron, let's not forget that BHP actually did double in platinum. They were the first to mine Zimbabwe's platinum mines in Zimbabwe, and they went back with their tail between their legs when they were still the standalone BHP. Could there be no opportunity here for them to relook and say, actually, remember, these were our assets, and there might be room here to come back and try and straighten out this company?
I really don't think so. Not BHP Billiton. Maybe one of the other guys, maybe a Rio Tinto. But I know that BHP Billiton have actually been divesting out of South Africa. That's because, of all the issues in terms of labor and in terms of increasing tariffs and all those risks that come with the South African economy at the moment and conditions of mining.
Yeah. What about the new CEO who's coming in? Does this guy bring in perhaps a ray of hope that maybe a new hand at the till will bring with it a new strategy, a new approach to things, and perhaps better ability to manage some of these relations that have been so fraught with difficulty, like perhaps you're on the labor front?
Hey, look, I think from the time he took over Metrorex, he's done brilliantly. Terence Goodlace is going to take over one of these days at Impala. He's probably more used to some political games in Africa as well.
Sure.
He's been managing
the DRC
for a while in the DRC, which is probably a bit more complicated than Zimbabwe itself. So hopefully, we know they got the pedigree to do it. On operations is pretty strong as well, turnaround strategies, etc. But Impala isn't in that big a problem. I don't think the company needs a turnaround strategy or something. They're still making money, they're still spending capex, etc. I'm a bit more bullish on the platinum industry itself.
Rather than the stock itself.
Rather about the stock itself. I think that the chosen one these days is Lonmin in that sector if you look at valuations, etc. But all of these other companies throwing a lot of capex and so forth into iron ore mines, etc. You're going to have an oversupply one of these days. We're not bullish on those commodities, and we'll probably rather be bullish on the platinum industry. But it's going to be difficult to choose the right stock.
You're giving me my answer before I ask you. Hot or not Impala Platinum?
I'm going to go for mild. Yeah, it still needs probably some downside, and we're probably not looking at the right price at the moment. But certainly, I think a strategic long-term asset that you want to have in your portfolio.
Absolutely. Byron?
Yeah, I've always had a bit of a soft spot for Impala. I've always liked David Brown. They didn't have to do any capital raising. They survived the financial crisis, even though the platinum price plunged. But like I've mentioned before, the headwinds are too strong. That Zimbabwean asset is actually the crown of the jewel of the crown. The costs there are extremely low. Now there are issues about indigenization on that side.
Yeah.
So there's just too many risks for me. I'm bullish on the platinum price, not bullish on any of the platinum stocks, but Impala would be my pick if I had to choose one.
Impala. So what do you call it now?
No, not hot.
Not hot for now, but if you had to do it, you'd have to go in for Impala.